Hey there, old guy back again. Hope you're doing great. Thanks for tuning in. On today's video, what we're going to do is modify my Player Series Telecaster a little bit. We're going to change the pickguard to something different. We're going to clean up the neck a little bit and kind of polish off the ends of the frets and roll the edges of the neck a little. And then finally we're going to change the tuners to locking tuners. Now I'm going to kind of show you how to do all that more or less. One thing I'm not going to go through is rolling the edges of your fretboard. Darrell Braun did an amazing video about that, which is basically how I'm going to do it. So I'll try to find a link to that and put it down below in the description. So let's get to it. Alright, so here's the tools I'm going to use. A new pickguard, nice Perloid pickguard. Here's the locking tuners. They are the Fender ones. And one thing I do want to point out is there are short stemmed and long stemmed. I don't know if you can see that, but the low strings get the long stem, the 3 low strings get the long stem, and the 3 high strings get the shorter stemmed ones. So the string pull is okay. You know, just a sanding block from Home Depot. It's 220 grit that I'm going to use for the fret edges. String action guide from StewMac. I'm going to use that to measure the pickup height here, and also probably later on when I adjust the neck a little bit. I'm going to use basically to polish the frets and also the fret ends. Once I get them a little smoother, I'm going to use this 2000 grit fret eraser. I got a bunch of these fretboard protectors also from StewMac, all different sizes. Obviously screwdriver, plier or wire cutters. The nut size on the locking tuners is 10 millimeters, so I have a 10 millimeter socket here, and also a guitar stand and my trusty table. So I'll get to work in just a second. Let me get the guitar. I wanted to show you the new pickguard that I'm going to be putting on my Tele. It's a Perloid pickguard, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some copper shielding tape around where the pickup's going to go. So now I put it on both sides. Now all I'm going to do is use a hobby knife to trim that off. And that's what it looks like after I trimmed everything up. So obviously took the strings off, and I like to tape off the guitar when I'm working on it at all. And like I said, I'm going to use some 220. I'm going to use this 220 grit sanding pad I got at Home Depot, just to kind of clean the edges of the frets off, kind of polish them a little bit, and then polish the frets and the fret ends with this, like I mentioned. Now, if you've never seen how these work, these StewMac fret covers, basically you find the size of fret you need and then you can just put them over just to protect the fingerboard, just like that. And they do come with these little elastic bands to hold them on there, but I'm not really going to use those because I'm just going to do a really quick job. So that probably took me about 5 minutes, and I don't know how well this is going to show up, but the fret ends look just amazing. I don't know if that's going to show up really well. And I polished the frets just a little bit. And already, without even putting the strings on and feeling, it really feels, I mean, just worlds different. Just nice and slick and smooth. Rolled the edges of the fretboard just a little bit. So I'll be back and we're going to take the pickguard off. So we're just going to go ahead and take the pickguard off. I actually measured the top distance of the neck pickup at 4 millimeters. So I'm going to take it off off camera. So I don't know if you can see this, but on this side that tubing is exactly the right length, but on this side it's not. You can see how much it moves here. I thought this tubing would be completely gone, but it's not. So I'm going to probably just cut a little bit and add to it so that it doesn't quite float around so much. But one cool thing is you can see the shielding paint in there, which is cool. So there's a guitar without the tubing, without the pickguard, sorry. And I don't know if you can see, but I added just a little bit of extra tubing to that so that these two tubing lengths to adjust the pickups are the same. So I'm going to put the pickup back on the pickguard now. Oh, the other thing too is I kind of OCD, so I like to have like little bowls around and stuff to put all my screws and stuff. Keep it nice and organized so you don't lose screws on the floor and carpet and kids take them and stuff. So the screws back on the pickguard. Time to screw the pickup back on. Pickup back on the pickguard. I actually measured it already to the 4mm that I had measured it on the old pickguard before I took the neck pickup off. So time to just put the pickup back on the pickguard back on the guitar. Sorry. And there it goes, fits perfectly. I'm just going to screw it right back in. Pickguard's back on the guitar, plastic's off, pickup is installed, and everything looks good. If I took the tuners off already, obviously, and if you've never seen like an American Standard or pin retainer tuner that Fender has, they have these two little pegs, and obviously there are peg holes, I'll show you in a second, drilled into the headstock on the back. And that's usually why I tell people if they want to change to locking tuners and they don't have those pre-drilled holes, that they should just not do Fender, because all the other locking tuners you only have to drill one hole instead of two. And one of the things that's coming up online all the time is people are like, well, I don't have to drill holes, I can just kind of tighten up the nut on top and it'll just make holes in the wood without having to pre-drill them, which is an absolute terrible idea. If you try that, good luck to you, but chances are, unless you're super duper careful, you're going to crack your headstock eventually, especially if you do it too quickly. So I would definitely not suggest doing that. Let me show you the back of the headstock and show you the locking tuners. These are the non-locking tuners that I just took off, so hang on, just here you go. So you can see on the back of the headstock, oops, you can see those holes are pre-drilled, and they're already there. And the other thing I wanted to show you real quick is, like I said, with the you can see that there's a length difference. There's a length difference in the tuner heads, and what you're supposed to do is put the longer of the two for the low 3 strings, and the shorter of the two with the high 3 strings. Just to show you how really simple these are to install. I already installed the few 4 there, but basically you slide it in like that. You make sure those 2 little pinholes are in there. It doesn't take any pressure at all to put them in. You slide the nut over just like that, and basically tuner's installed. I mean, it's really that simple, and then you just use your wrench to tighten it. Just be careful you don't over tighten. So I'm going to tighten all that up, and then I'm going to come back and show you why I like these locking tuners so much. I hate winding strings, and one of the things that these locking tuners do is you thread your string through the tuner, you pull it tight, make sure it's tight at the bridge, pull it tight, and then you cinch this down just like that, and your string's not going anywhere, and then you basically tune it just like that. You don't have to worry about how long or how much winding you have, and if you have enough space on the peg or anything like that. So basically I tighten it as tight as I can, and I start tuning it, bend it up. Like I don't like to keep strings on the end there, so just kind of bend it up like that. You're done, and then you tune your strings. That's it. That's all it takes to do one. So here's the guitar all modded up, new pickguard on there, pickup back in place, fretboard and frets kind of polished and cleaned up, new tuners, Fender locking tuners, which I highly encourage anybody to try. One thing about the locking tuners is you really got to watch out on the high strings, that you really tighten those down and lock them in place. because they still can slip out, especially when you're tuning them up for the first time and you're stretching the strings. So just make sure as you're winding the strings to tune them, you make sure that those wheels are nice and locked up. My favorite thing to do that I did with this vid was the polishing of the frets. It really makes such a huge difference on the playability of the neck, so I'd highly recommend trying to do that on your own. It really takes no time and the materials are really not that expensive. If you like this video, please go ahead and give me the thumbs up. That'd be awesome. If you like what the channel has to offer, please go ahead and subscribe. That'd be amazing. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you again soon.